Kwame wandered the crowded streets of Accra, his eyes vacant and his body thin as a reed. Once the most charming businessman in the city, he now muttered to himself, clothes hanging off his frame, jumping at shadows. People crossed to the other side when they saw him coming. Some whispered he was cursed. The elders knew better. The serpent woman took his chi, they said quietly. She feeds on the unguarded. She leaves them empty. Just 3 months earlier, Kwame had been unstoppable. At 32, he owned two thriving shops selling imported electronics. Money flowed easily to him, as did friends and admirers. His smile opened doors, his handshake sealed deals. When his grandmother pressed small bottles of blessed oil into his palm or urged him to come to church, he laughed it off. Prayer is for the old and the scared, he would tell his friends as they gathered at Zeus Bar on Friday nights. We make our own luck. The night that changed everything began like any other. Kwame sat with four friends at their usual corner table, the music pulsing around them, glasses clinking. The bar was packed with the usual crowd, young professionals unwinding after a long week, tourists seeking local nightlife, couples pressed close together in dim corners. When the door opened at midnight, few noticed at first. Then a ripple of silence spread through the room. She stood in the doorway, tall and graceful in a dress the color of sunset. Her skin gleamed like polished wood under the bar lights. Her eyes, deep and knowing, scanned the room with unhurried confidence. Every man stared, every woman tensed. Her gaze found Kwame, locked on, held. Something cold and exciting raced down his spine as she walked directly to him, ignoring other men who reached for her attention. Up close, her beauty was even more striking. Flawless skin, full lips curved in a hint of a smile, eyes that seemed to see right through him. Mind if I join you? She asked. His friends shifted uneasily, making room. There was something about her they couldn't put into words, a scent like flowers from a grave, beauty too perfect to trust. But Kwame was already caught in her web. They talked for hours. She listened to his stories with rapt attention, touched his arm when she laughed, leaned close to whisper comments that made his heart race. His friends drifted away one by one, each muttering excuses, each ignored. We should go somewhere quiet, she suggested as the bar began to empty. Her voice stroked his ear like a caress. The hotel she chose was small and secluded, on the outskirts of the city where the urban sprawl gave way to patches of wild growth. The night clerk hardly glanced up as they passed. In the room, she moved with unhurried grace. Kwame felt drunk on desire, though he'd barely touched his drinks all night. When she pulled him close, her touch was cool against his feverish skin. He leaned in to kiss her and froze. Her lips were cold as river stones in winter. Her eyes, inches from his, blinked sideways like a lizard's, her jaw unhinged with a soft crack. Before Kwame could scream, her body twisted, skin split to reveal iridescent scales. The beautiful woman melted away, replaced by a massive serpent with eyes black as tar pits. It reared back, then lunged at his face. He felt the creature enter him, not physically, but as smoke pouring into his mouth, his nose, his ears, seeping through his very pores. Ice spread through his veins, his mind shattered into fragments. Kwame collapsed to the floor, limbs twitching. When he stood again, his eyes were empty wells. He walked out of the hotel room at dawn, leaving the door wide open behind him. The night clerk would later report that no woman had left, just the man, looking sick and confused. Kwame's friends found him 2 days later, wandering near the market, unable to explain where he'd been or what had happened. They took him home, called doctors, tried traditional healers. Nothing helped. Within weeks, his business deals collapsed, partnerships dissolved, money vanished from accounts, his shops closed, friends stopped calling. A persistent illness clung to him, making him weak and feverish. The elders from his grandmother's church came to see him. They nodded grimly as they left. His spirit has been eaten, they told his frightened family. The serpent woman has taken his chi. They explained that such creatures had haunted their lands for generations. They appeared as irresistible women to prey on men whose spiritual defenses were weak. They fed on life force, leaving their victims as shells. Meanwhile, the serpent woman moved through the city, her hunger growing again. Kwame's chi had sustained her, but the meal was finished. She needed more. She found her hunting grounds in the bars and clubs of Accra, her beauty drawing men like moths to flame, but she was selective. She could sense those with weak spiritual armor, men who scoffed at prayer, who lived only for pleasure, who believed in nothing beyond what they could touch and take. Then one evening, as the sun painted the sky copper and gold, she spotted a new potential victim, a man walking home from work, his coverall stained with motor oil, his face tired but content. Emeka had moved to Accra from Nigeria 5 years earlier, seeking better opportunities. He'd found work as a mechanic and built a modest life. At 35, he lived simply, working hard 6 days a week, attending church on Sundays, sending money home to his mother each month. In the evenings, he often helped elderly neighbors with repairs they couldn't manage or afford. The serpent woman watched him for 3 days, learning his routines. Unlike her usual targets, this man radiated a quiet strength that both repelled and intrigued her. Such men were harder to seduce, but contained more powerful chi. A challenge, but potentially a feast. On the fourth day, she positioned herself along his walk home, wearing the form of a beautiful woman in a red dress, carrying a basket of fruit as if returning from the market. Their eyes met. She smiled. He smiled back, polite but cautious. They talked briefly. She laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, told him her name was Adaora. Before they parted, they exchanged phone numbers. That night, Emeka thought about the beautiful woman. There was something unusual about her, something he couldn't quite place. He said his evening prayers before bed, as he always did, adding a request for guidance. The next evening, they met for dinner at a small restaurant. She was captivating, her words smooth as honey, her movements hypnotic. She leaned close, her fingers brushing his as they talked. You're different, she told him. Strong, kind. I like that. After dinner, she suggested they go somewhere private. His place, perhaps. Emeka felt the pull of attraction, but something in his spirit stirred uneasily. He agreed to have her over, but his guard remained up. In his small, neat apartment, she grew bolder. Her hands wandered, her touch electric, her whispers tempting. Emeka's body responded, but his soul resisted. Wait, he said, pulling back gently. Before anything else happens, I need to pray. Her smile faltered. Pray? Now? Yes, he said firmly. I always do. He knelt beside his bed and closed his eyes. Father, I thank you for this day. I ask for your protection and guidance. The moment he mentioned Jesus, a sharp guttural hiss filled the room. Emeka's eyes flew open to see Adaora's face contorting in pain. Her skin rippled like water. For a split second, her eyes became vertical slits. Stop! She snarled, her voice twisting into something inhuman. Then, as quickly as it happened, she composed herself, though her breathing was ragged. I have to go, she said, already moving toward the door. What's wrong? Emeka asked, confused and alarmed. Nothing, I forgot. Something important. She was gone before he could respond. Disturbed, Emeka went to his pastor the next morning. As he described what had happened, the old man's face darkened. My son, you met an Emo Atia, a demon disguised as a beautiful woman. She feeds on men's spirits, but the name of Jesus burns her kind like fire. Emeka shuddered, realizing how close he had come to the fate that had befallen others like Kwame. In the weeks that followed, Emeka felt a darkness hovering at the edges of his life. Strange sounds outside his window at night, glimpses of a woman watching from across the street. He strengthened his prayers, kept holy water by his bed, wore a small cross his mother had given him. The serpent woman raged in the shadows. Never before had prey escaped her. The mechanic's fate had burned her, weakened her, but her hunger grew desperate. She would try once more. She waited until a rainy night when Emeka was walking home late after helping a neighbor with an emergency repair. She appeared before him on the empty street, no longer bothering with full human disguise. Her beauty remained, but her eyes glowed in the darkness. You think your prayers protect you? Her voice echoed strangely. Your God is far away, but I am here. Emeka felt fear grip his heart, but he stood his ground. My God is never far, he said, and began to pray aloud. Each word seemed to strike her like a physical blow. She hissed and writhed, her form flickering between woman and serpent. Rain sizzled where it touched her skin. This isn't over, she snarled, backing away. But they both knew it was a lie. Her power over him was broken. Without fresh chi to sustain her, her strength was fading. She slithered away into the darkness, forced to seek easier prey in other places. Emeka stood in the rain until she was gone, then walked home with steady steps. That night, he slept in perfect peace, for the first time in weeks. He never saw the serpent woman again, though sometimes newcomers to the city would whisper about a beautiful stranger who appeared in bars, seeking men with empty souls. But the elders had begun to spread warnings, and more young men were remembering the old protections. As for Kwame, the church elders did what they could for him. Prayers were said, rituals performed. He recovered enough to function, to speak coherently, to work simple jobs. But he never regained his former vitality or charm. The light in his eyes remained dimmed. Emeka visited him sometimes, bringing food or simply sitting with him. He never spoke of his own encounter, but he continued to pray for Kwame's healing. And in the shadows between worlds, the serpent woman grew weaker, her hands less successful as awareness spread. For creatures like her, there was no true death, only retreat and return in endless cycles. But for now, at least, her kiss had lost some of its deadly power. The elders nodded in approval. Remember, they told the young, true protection comes not from luck or charm, but from a guarded heart and a praying spirit. In the bustling city of Accra, where neon lights flickered against the night sky and laughter spilled from crowded bars, the warnings continued to be whispered. Not all beauty is benign. Some come from the underworld, wearing pretty faces, waiting for the spiritually weak. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more exciting stories from the heart of Africa.